Well, hello, everybody. This is John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling. This is Raging Verbalist number 326. For those who are keeping track, hopefully you are. Raging Verbalist is, well, topics that hit me in the head, and I say, I got to talk about them, got to put them up, got to do what I got to do. Available on YouTube and my Facebook group, which is Position to Win Book, Position to Win Book. And of course, shameless plug. Here's the book. Check it out. Check it out. Yep. But we'll be talking about that a little bit later. Today, of course, we're going to be talking about an interesting topic that is actually months and months in the making, and months because of what happened. So I stumbled upon a company called Comma. Yeah, like like the little comma on when you're writing, and that's kind of like a little pause, I guess. Maybe it's a tongue-in-cheek thing, but anyway, comma.ai, and they make an interesting device. This interesting device attaches to something like 325 different models of cars right now, and seems like a pretty cool idea. So I did a lot of research, watched a bunch of YouTube videos, saw things about the guys around it, like this guy George, and said, that looks pretty interesting. I owned at the time a 2019 Honda Odyssey, and I thought, well, it's gonna work. Let's see it. Let's check it out. What it does is it helps you. So what is a comma three? That's the one I own. They just came out with the comma four, but hey, so be it. You got to deal with what you got. It's what you paid for. So what it does is it adds extra capabilities. I wouldn't want to use the word super, but extra capabilities to a self. No, it's quasi self-driving, if you will. And what it does is it enhances your adaptive cruise control. And since my Honda Odyssey fit into one of their categories, I said, okay, let me see if I can check this out and do this. Checks out as best I can. You can go to comma.ai. Website's a little weird. Maybe it's designed for a different generation than me, but wish there was a little bit more information. And it convinced me to do it. Now it's $1,000. It's $100 for the wiring harness, so it's $1,100 roughly, plus tax and shipping and all that kind of stuff. Comes in a little small box. I didn't open the box because I wanted to get it installed. So I took a trip because I knew of a perfect person to install it, and he was going to be the right guy. So let's talk about how it works before we talk about that installation process and what hijacked 10 months out of my life for not getting it installed. So how it works essentially is that if you have an adaptive cruise control with lane keeping, that's important. What it does is it takes what the OEM, that would be what Honda in my case, put into the car, and it attaches in there, and it kind of adds, well, not kind of, it adds a lot of functionality to it. And what it means is that you can then get much closer to, if you will, the kind of self-driving ish things that happen with new EVs and that type of thing. So what George hit upon, or his team hit upon, is that you could take essentially an Android phone, rework it. I don't know what the comma two looked like or the comma one, but I have a three, and it's pretty compact. It's optically driven, so there are times it's going to say, "Nope, can't see it. You're driving, Bucko," and away you go. Now I started calling it the Gizmo. I know, I'm not to deride what they've done, and so I was pretty excited about it. And the real key was that when I was going to get it installed, I was going to do this test because I was driving from Southern California to Denver, where the guy who I know could install it without any problems. I mean, he works on my best friend's Porsche, and if my best friend lets him work on it, well, then that's enough endorsement for me. So what I noticed about the lane assist and the adaptive cruise control is that the Honda version was very conservative, but also very binary. I mean, if something got in its path, I mean, it slammed on the brakes, and then now I'm hoping that people don't ram into me. And then when it accelerated, it just accelerated very quickly. So it seemed like it was very abrupt, is the nice way to say it. The other thing is that it didn't stay in the lane very well. I mean, it did a lot of seesawing. I'll demonstrate that, and just kept doing that. And I'm talking about wide open spaces like in Utah. I mean, I'm sitting there going, there's nothing there, and the roads. I mean, the lines were very clearly marked. So that was my reference. So I get to Denver. This is in June of last year. and pretty excited because I've got the gizmo with me, and got it set up. Have the guy help me out and install this thing and all of that. And well, guess what? I get T-boned, which totaled the car, totaled the vehicle. So now I've got Gizmo. I don't have a vehicle and I'm stuck. So I go, okay. Now, when I'm going to replace it, because I'm going to get an insurance check, which I did, negotiate with them, and they did just fine by me, I decided, well, what I was going to do is buy a 2019 Honda Odyssey. I looked for several months. I wanted to buy a very low mileage. I did 25,000 miles on one. Just came off of a lease. I also got a better equipment level because I learned that when I bought my first 2019, I hadn't been as judicious, is a nice way of saying it. I didn't think it through. So I did this time. And I got myself a Honda Elite, beautiful vehicle, worked out great, happy to get that vehicle. And I said, okay, now I got to get back to Colorado. Wanted to miss the storms, had other reasons for going there. So, I just did that here in April. Just a few, well, actually last week I was there. So uh, this was new to me. Honda was wonderful. It was, it has all of those bells and whistles. Now I noticed that the lane assist and the adaptive cruise control were basically identical to the other one. So there you go. So 10 months after, not exactly 10 months, a little less, but 10 months worth of waiting to get it installed. And I dropped it off. He knows a lot about how to, do this because he had worked for 20 plus years installing variety of systems in vehicles. Very meticulous guy. And it took him a little bit longer, but I understood that. And I finally got it. So my first trip with the gizmo is that what happens is that when you turn the cruise control on, or it's on and you set it, it takes over and it starts doing things like keeping you in the lane and accelerating and decelerating, slowing down and all of that. And I get on Colorado 470 and I basically go from one exit to the one I have to get to go to my brother's place. And but this is like my first time, so I didn't know what to expect. Again, typical of modern technology. They're bad English, but the correct way to say it, there ain't no manual. So you're on your own. So you have to do that. By the way, before we get into that, maybe I should tell you that they're in business. There may be manuals, but there's not really enough good stuff out there. So that's why I would tell you to go get my book. Most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize a position to win. Go to any bookstore, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. Go to any bookstore. You can get it physically or you can get it digitally on those platforms, or you can go to positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com. And if you send in and say, hey, I want John to autograph it, I will do that. We'll send it on its merry way. And then you might even get a special bonus. You never know. All right. So that first day was kind of interesting. And I said, okay, I kind of feel it. Now, between then, because it took a little longer to get it installed, and when I had to leave to go home, I ended up having to say, okay, now I've got to test it out. Now, of course, I, am waiting to test this out. So I get on a very nice, easy road. But it's night, on Saturday, and I'm driving. So I'm taking 1,000-mile journey essentially. And I said, I'm going to test it here. Let's see how it works. And it worked really well. But of course, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So, I mean, in some ways, it's designed to, I think their tagline is make you chill or make driving chill or something like that. But I can tell you that it, that first night, that first little tests of it, I started learning things. Uh, Learned that part of it was the fact that Honda itself can only let you do so much before it tells you, hey, it's on you. Or as I like to say, the warning should say, hey, bucko, start driving. It went through Eisenhower Tunnel without a single flaw. Pretty challenging. Tunnels are tough for self-driving, but it did very well through that. And it worked on and off until I, got to my first day's stop. crashed out. It had been a long week, been a long effort. And then the next morning, I knew I was going to be driving out through Utah and staying in Utah before my final trek. Now, I learned a lot about it, like slow, long radius turns. I mean, things that you would think would be pretty easy, but it's sustaining that turn that became a problem and it would pop on. So I started getting better at it and started getting more capable at it. And the biggest thing that happened on day two was the fact that I guess that would be day three. That'd be day three is that I was driving on Interstate 15. For those who don't know, Interstate 70 ends or begins, however you want to look at Interstate 15 in Utah. So I'm heading south, and the winds are pretty tough. And I pull into a rest stop, and I park, and next to me parks another guy. And we're, of course, we all know why we're there, right? And this guy's hands were shaking. You could tell it was, he was struggling to drive the vehicle. He goes, pretty windy, man. He goes, I'm gonna have to sit here for an hour just to wind down. And I can tell you, crosswinds and winds like that will make your life kind of miserable. I didn't have any of that. Now, I was in pretty good shape because I was sitting there going, yeah, no, I got you. I didn't tell him, hey, by the way, I got this gizmo, and it drove probably that stint 70% of the time, something like that. I don't have a good way to measure what percentage it's driving. So, but it did a great job. And by the way, it allowed me to, if you will, now start driving with it. So I get to St. George and I realize that, I'm not totally, burned out and worn out after 7 hours worth of driving. It's pretty cool. Get up the next morning early. I get up crazy early and head out. And all I can tell you is that, yes, I can now tell when it's going to need me to drive. So I can anticipate that because I'm looking at it. System worked well. I had to deal with Vegas, even though it was, really early in the morning with somebody, exiting in the right lane, but he was in the far left lane and cuts across 4 lanes of traffic and gets off. So, I mean, the system did okay, but I was ready for it. And eventually, made it back. So the 1,000-mile journey was pretty interesting. And all I can tell you is that it was a lot less stressful. Again, that was my fourth day on it, and it was pretty interesting. So my conclusion, or really just the beginning, not the conclusion, and I'll give you guys updates as I go along, is I'm impressed. The $1,000 plus, $100 for the wiring harness plus installation. Maybe I'm in it for $1,400 or something. Beautiful installation, by the way. My guy did a fantastic job. Is that it works and it is worth it. And the real thing about it is that I do lots of I like to drive, but it's nice to have something that works and accommodates this and makes life easier to drive. My suggestion is that you go to comma.ai. I don't have an affiliate code. These guys are, I mean, I posted on X, my comments. I tweeted about it, and I'll do some more as we go along. But all I can tell you is that the comma 3 from comma.ai works. I'm of course an early adopter on technology. I have an inverse proportion rule of it. I'll tell you quickly, which is I always start and say, okay, technology starts here. And now, kind of we watch how it descends into, Dante's gates of hell. So far, so good, looks good. And, haven't had an issue or a problem, knock on wood. And we go from there. And with that, this has been the Raging Verbalist 326. I'm John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling. I hope you have a great week and a great time. And all I can tell you is that this is, these guys have something, especially for all these cars. I've got a neighbor who's paying $99 a month to Elon for his full self-driving. He loves it. This isn't quite that. I mean, you don't just plug in a destination and it does all that stuff. But as a step up, it is quite impressive. All right, until next time, this has been John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling. Have a great one. Take care.